Merry Christmas 2024. I am going to read How Come Christmas by Rourke Bradford. This was a Jack Lacy tradition in my family. We would pass the book around and everybody would read a paragraph or two and then pass it to the next person. While I have not continued that part of the tradition, a Christmas doesn't go by that I don't read it, at least once. This story is written in play form a long time ago, 1930s maybe. How Come Christmas by Rourke Bradford. Scene: corner in a rural Negro church by the stove. The stove is old and the pipe is held approximately erect by guy wires, but a cheerful fire is evident through the cracks in the stove and the wood box is well filled. 6 children sit on a bench that has been shifted to face the stove, and the Reverend stands between them and the stove. A hat rack is on the wall, supports sprigs of holly and one plug hat. A window is festooned with holly, long strips of red paper, and strings of popcorn. A small Christmas bell and a tiny American flag are the only store-bought decorations. Reverend: well, here we is, chillins, and here it is Christmas. Now, we all knows we's here 'cause it's Christmas, don't we? But what I want to know is who's going to tell me how come it's Christmas? Willie: 'cause old Santa Claus come around this time of the year clawing all the good chillins with presents. Christine: that ain't right, is it, Reverend? It's Christmas 'cause the poor little Jesus was born on Christmas. Ain't it, Reverend? Reverend: well, both of them is mighty good answers. Old Santa Claus do happen around this time of the year with the presents, and the poor little Jesus sure was born on Christmas Day. Now the question is, did old Santa Claus start clawing the chillins with presents before the poor little Jesus get born? Or did the little Jesus get born before Santa Claus start getting around? Willie: I bet old Santa Claus was clawing the chillins before the poor little Jesus started studying about getting boned. Christine: no, sir. The poor little Jesus come first, didn't he, Reverend? Willie: old Santa Claus is the oldest. I've seen his pictures and seen Jesus's pictures, and old Santa Claus is the heap the oldest. His whiskers mighty near touch the ground. Delia: that ain't right. Old Methuselah is the oldest. Ain't he, Reverend? 'Cause the Bible say Methuselah was the oldest man of his time. He lived 969, and he died and went to heaven in due time. Reverend: Methuselah was powerful old, all right. Willie: he won't older than old Santa Claus, I bet. Old Santa Claus got a heap of whiskers. Christine: but the poor little Jesus come first. He was here before old man Methuselah, wasn't he, Reverend? Reverend: he's been here a powerful long time, all right. Willie: so is old Santa Claus. He's got powerful long whiskers. Delia: Moses got a heap of whiskers too. Reverend: yeah, Moses was a mighty old man. But the point is, how come Christmas started being Christmas? Now who's going to tell me? 'Cause here it is, Christmas Day, with everybody happy and rejoicing about. And here is us, sitting by the stove in the warm church house, talking about it. But ain't nobody got no idea how come it start being Christmas? Willie: you can't fool old Santa Claus about Christmas. He know, don't he, Reverend? He just lay around and watch and see how the chillins mind their ma. And then first thing you know, he's got his mind made up about who's been good and who's been bad. And then he just hauls himself off and has himself a Christmas. Christine, yeah, but how come he knows it's time to haul off and have himself a Christmas? Willie, because any old time Santa Claus make up his mind to have Christmas, well, who's gonna stop him? Christine, well, how come he don't make his mind up until the middle of the winter? How come he don't make up his mind on the 4th of July? Everybody get good around the 4th of July, just like Christmas, so they can go to the picnic. But Santa Claus, he ain't paying no mind to that, because it ain't time for Christmas, is it, Reverend? Willie, because he don't have Christmas on the 4th of July. Because it ain't no point in Santa Claus clawing everybody when everybody's going to the picnic anyhow. Santa Claus believe in scattering the good stuff about. Don't he, Reverend? He say, well, it ain't no point in clawing the folks when they're already having a good time and going to the picnic. Maybe I better wait until the dead of winter, when it's too cold for the picnic. Ain't that right, Reverend? Reverend, Santa Claus do believe in scattering the good stuff about the seasons, Willie, and it ain't no point in having Christmas on the 4th of July, because the 4th of July got its own point. Now who's going to tell me what's the point of the 4th of July? Everybody in chorus. Old George Washington done whooped the king, and the eagle squawked, let freedom ring. Reverend, that's right, and that was in the summertime. So everybody went out and they had a picnic because they was glad that old George Washington done whooped that king. Now, what's the point of Christmas? Willie, oh, Santa Claus. Christine, the poor little Jesus. Reverend, well, it seemed like old Santa Claus and the poor little Jesus both mixed up in this thing from the way y'all chillins look at it. But I reckon y'all just about exactly right, too, 'cause that's how it is. Both of them so mixed up in it you can't hardly tell which is which. Delia, was that before the 4th of July? Christine, 'course it was. Don't Christmas always come before the 4th of July? Willie, no, sir, it's the 4th of July first. Then it's Christmas. Ain't that right, Reverend? Reverend, I believe Christine got you on this one, Willie. Christmas do come before the 4th of July. 'Cause you see, it was Christmas when old George Washington got mad at the king. 'Cause the king was going to kill the poor little Jesus. And him and the king fight from Christmas till the 4th of July before old George Washington finally done that king up. Willie, and old George Washington whooped that king, didn't he? Reverend, he whooped the stuffing out of him. He whooped him from Baltimore to Belial and then back again. He just done that king up so bad he just naturally put kingin' out of style. And ever since then, there ain't been no more kings to mount to much. You see, kings was bad folks. They was mean. They'd rather kill you than leave you alone. You see a king walking down the road, and you better light out across the field, because the king would walk up and chop your head off. And the law couldn't touch him, because he was the king. So all the folks got scared of the king, because they didn't know how to do nothing about it. So everybody went around trying to stay on the good side of him. And all of that is how come the poor little Jesus and old Santa Claus got mixed up in getting Christmas going. You see, one time it was a little baby boned named the poor little Jesus. But didn't nobody know that was his name yet. They knew he was powerful smart and powerful pretty little baby, but they didn't know his name was the poor little Jesus. So, 'cause he was so smart and so pretty, everybody thought that he was going to grow up and be the king. So quick as that, news got spread around. Everybody just about get on the good side of the baby, because they figuring if they start soon enough, he'd grow up liking them and not chop their heads off. So old Moses went over and gave him $100 in gold. And old Methuselah went over and gave him a diamond ring. And old Peter gave him fine white silk robe. and everybody was running in with the fine presents, the poor little Jesus, so he wouldn't grow up and chop their heads off. Everybody but old Santa Claus. Old Santa Claus was getting old and didn't get around much, and he didn't hear the news that the poor little Jesus was going to grow up and be the king. So him and the old lady were sitting back by the fire one night, toasting their shins and talking about this and that, when old Miss Santa Claus up and remarked, she say, "Sandy, I hear Miss Mary got a brand new baby over at her house." "Is that a fact?" say Santa Claus. "Well, it's mighty cold to do anything like that, ain't it? But on the other hand, it'll be a heap of pleasure and fun for her next summer, I reckon." So the talk went on, and finally old Santa Claus remarked that it'd be powerful lonesome around the house since all the chillins growed up and married off. "They all married well," say Miss Santa Claus. "And so I say, good riddance. You ain't never had to get up and cure the colic and mend the clothes, and so you're getting lonesome. Me, I love 'em all. But I'm glad they married off and doing well." So the talk went on like that for a while, and then old Santa Claus got up, got his hat. "I believe," he say, "I drop over and see how the little baby's getting along. I ain't seen no chillins in so long, I'm pure hungry to lean my eye up agin a baby." "You ain't going out on a night like this, is you?" say Miss Santa Claus. "Sure I'm going on a night like this," say Santa Claus. "I'm pure craving to see some chillins." "But it's snowing and going on," say Miss Santa Claus. "You know your fistic been devilin' you anyhow, and you're going to get the Charlie Mall buses slopping around in this weather." "No mind to talk," say Santa Claus. "Get me my umbrella and my overshoes, and you better get me a little something to take along as a cradle gift too, I reckon." "You know there ain't nothing in this house for no cradle gift," say Miss Santa Claus. "Get something," say Santa Claus. "You gotta give the new baby something, or else you get bad luck. Give me one of them big red apples out of the kitchen." "What kind of cradle gift is an apple?" say Miss Santa Claus. "Don't you reckon that baby get all the apples he want?" "Give me the apple," say Santa Claus. "It ain't much, one way you looks at it, but from the way that baby's going to look at that apple, it'll be a heap." So Santa Claus got the apple and he lit out. Well, when he got to Miss Mary's house, everybody was standing around giving the poor little Jesus presents, fine presents made of gold and silver and diamonds and silk and all like that. They had the presents stacked around that baby so high you could hardly see over him. So when everybody seen old Santa Claus come in, they looked to see what he bring. And when they see he didn't bring nothing but a red apple, they all laughed. "Quick as that boy grow up and gets to be the king," they told him, "he's gonna chop your head off." "No mind that," say Santa Claus, "y'all just stand back." And so he went up to the crib and he pushed away a handful of gold and silk and diamonds and stuff, and he handed the poor little Jesus that red apple. "Here, son," he say, "take this apple. See how she shines?" And the poor little Jesus reached up and he grabbed that apple in both hands and he just laughed as brash as you please. Then old Santa Claus tuck and tickled him under the chin with his forefinger and say, "Goodly, goodly, goodly." And the poor little Jesus laughed some more, and he reached up and he grabbed a fistful of old Santa Claus whiskers, and him and old Santa Claus went round and round. So about that time, up stepped the Lord. "I swear, old Santa Claus," say the Lord, "between that apple and them whiskers, the poor little Jesus ain't had so much fun since he been born." So old Santa Claus stepped back and he bowed low and give the Lord howdy and say, "I didn't know everybody was shivering, or else I'd have stayed at home. I didn't have nothing much to bring this time, 'cause you see how it's been this year. The dry weather and the bull weevils got mighty near all the cotton, and the old lady been kind of puny. That's all right, Sandy, say the Lord. Gold and silver I have a heap of, but verily you sure do know how to handle yourself around the chillins. Well, Lord, say Santa Claus, I don't know much about chillins. Me and the old lady raised up 14, but she did most of the work. Me, I just like 'em, and I manages to get along with 'em. You sure do get along with 'em good, say the Lord. It's easy to do what you like to do, say Santa Claus. Well, say the Lord, there might be something in that too, but the trouble in my world is, it ain't enough people which likes to do the right thing. But you likes to do with chillins, and that's what I need. So stand back and shut your eyes while I pass the miracle on you. So old Santa Claus stood still, and he shut his eyes, and the Lord reared back and passed the miracle on him. And he say, Old Santa Claus, live forever and make my chillins happy. So old Santa Claus opened his eyes, and he said, Thank you kindly, Lord. But do I got to keep him happy all the time? That's a pretty big job. It'd be a heap of fun, but still at the same time. Yeah, I know about chillins too, say the Lord. Chillins got to fret and get some devilment every now and then, so they can get a whooping from their ma, or else their skin won't get loose so they can grow. But you just keep your eyes on them and make him happy about once a year. How's that? That's fine, say Santa Claus. It'll be a heap of fun too. What time do you expect I better make him happy, Lord? Christmas suits me, say the Lord, if it's okay with you. It's just right for me, say old Santa Claus. So ever since that day and time, old Santa Claus been clawing the chillins on Christmas. And that's the same time that the poor little Jesus got born. 'Cause the way the Lord runs things, cause the Lord know it's not going to be long before the poor little Jesus growed up to be a man. And when he done that, all the grown folks had him so they could moan their sins away and lay down their burdens on him and get happy in their hearts. The Lord made Jesus for the grown folks, but the Lord know the chillins have got to have some fun too. So that's how come it's Santa Claus and Christmas and all.